If you're not making at least 10K a month right now from AI digital products, it's not because the market is saturated, but it's just because you're doing the wrong models. Let me start by grounding this in reality. I run Expert Funding, what is a B2C trading company where we are selling digital products to clients. But on top of that, I'm also running Prop Elevator, was a purely B2B company that is focused on selling tech infrastructure to other prop firms to run their company. And these are not some experiments I'm doing. Expert Funding crossed around 300,000 in the last 5 months, and Prop Elevator crossed around 30,000 in a month and almost purely profit because it's a tech product. So when I talk about digital products, SaaS, AI automations, and why some models work and why other models will fail, this is not theory, this is pure from execution and pure from understanding the industry. Now, let's talk a little bit about timing. AI is not just improving businesses, it's removing every single layer of the onion, you can call it, in a business. And if your product can be digitalized, automated, certainly in 2026 it will be. From operations, support, onboarding, you name it, every single thing will be made easier and will be faster with AI. But this means only one thing. Most businesses in the future will be digital until their core. And the people who understand how to actually leverage AI in this will have the maximal capacity to run and operate in 2026. But let me tell you something so you understand the whole fundamental of business. Most people, they operate and start companies without understanding leverage, ownerships or systems. So they end up with products that have extremely low margins and can't scale. And this brings me to the first mental shift you have to go through. Why dropshipping is, for example, a way less attractive model. It's not because you can't make money with it. It's because the margin and control is terrible. Like, you have super low margins because you don't own the product, you mostly don't own the logistics, you don't own the data a lot of times, and also you have to constantly run ads to keep the product running. Now, even the pricing aspect, a lot of times in dropshipping you don't even own because you have to look at the pricing of the product to actually make the margin, to make the calculation, to actually make it a sustainable business. Now, when you compare this to digital products, you have everything in your own hands. You have the product, you can add your own pricing to it, you can improve the product without touching logistics. And you kind of make a valuation on that product because you build it completely yourself, and that is why it's so powerful. Now, let's get practical. What kind of digital products can you actually sell? And the first product we'll start with is AI automations and AI agents, and especially to local businesses. This can go from lead qualification, booking agents, customer support, internal workflows. These businesses, they don't actually care about your fancy AI product. They care if you can make them more money or you can save them more time. And honestly, if you want to get in that field, I can recommend you to niche down as much as possible. Because if you understand the industry, it's going to be so much easier for you to see a problem and actually fix that problem. The second product, and the one we will focus most in this video, is full AI SaaS based products. And this is where the biggest leverage right now lives. First of all, instead of a product, you're selling a subscription. Most SaaS tools, they work in the same principle where you need to subscribe every single month to keep your benefits, to keep your features. And this small way of pricing your product is making a major difference in the way you have cash flow and the way you make valuations. Third layer is AI-based consulting. And I'm not talking about generic consulting. I'm talking about very specific audits you can give to your clients, go over them, understand where you can leverage your AI-based products like automations, agents, or even SaaS, and tell them how they can implement it in their business. The only thing you will charge on is just on the info you will provide to the client. And even if you want to make it more inbound demand through social media, organic content, you can even go as far as making a mini digital course and can also sell this to your community. Before we dive into any of this, you need to understand something very, very clearly. You don't build what you think is important. You build what people have a need for, what they actually need in their company to operate it either smoother or to actually make them more money. And that is where an MVP will come into place. An MVP is basically a small version of your product you will build, which you can build pretty fast and don't need that much capital, and you are gonna use it to go and see if there is demand. It's mostly about speed and learning, feedback for your product, understanding what customers actually need. So what you do is you build the smallest single thing of the problem you want to solve. You test it, you iterate, and this is where most people will fail, because there's a very big difference between B2C and B2B SaaS products. B2C is mostly emotional driven, while B2B is mostly driven on pure logic. For example, if you want to make a B2C product, you will sell identity and aspiration, and when you are making a B2B product, you will actually sell efficiency and ROI. And if your product doesn't do those things, it will struggle in the long run anyway. And this rules basically doesn't only apply on SaaS, it will apply on every single thing you sell online. Now, let me go a little bit back to my B2B CRM tool we made. What is the big difference that we did and a lot of people are doing is they were only focusing on marketing B2C, and we saw that and we thought, okay, but there's a big gap because they have such a high cost on buying their infrastructure because they have no idea how to make it. And that is where we played in, and this is the big difference with AI. We played in on the knowledge gap. And the knowledge gap is something you need to understand, because if you go to a business for any consulting or want to sell something, most people, they have no idea how it works. So what you will do is you will fill that gap, and that's what we did with our infrastructure. In our case, we also had better pricing than our competition. But anyway, we filled that gap, and a lot of people came to us because they needed the product, they needed the CRM, they needed traders dashboards. And funny enough, our website was just built with AI very, very fast. Compared to the competition, we spent just months on building their own website. Our MVP was built with AI. They were spending so many months on their MVP, and then eventually we built it out to a very sustainable product. Our outreach was very simple. It was just, we did it through Instagram, through organic content, and we got inbound demand. We didn't overcomplicate anything. And here is the important part. These products get very high valuation. It's not because they're fancy, because they're cool. It's just because they're boring, but they're needed. And they are subscription based. And we're not talking about 20, 30 years for a subscription. In B2B, we can ask 2,000, 3,000 to even 10,000 as a subscription. Look at very famous products like Hyros, for example. And this will bring us to the main product we will focus on this YouTube video. And this will be B2B SaaS projects or B2B digital products, because it's the most profitable model anyway, and it will give you the highest valuations. So what we'll divide this video in is how to build a product and protect it with GitHub, how to actually get them to production, how to work with developers without losing any control, how to hire remotely and very smart, how to build a website and actually capture leads, and how to actually sell the product and get clients. This is not about being a coder, this is about being an operator, this is about using and leveraging AI in it. And we're just getting started. Now let me show you how this actually comes into practice, because this is where most people actually get lost. They understand the idea, they believe in AI, but they have no idea what comes first, what comes next, and so on. So here's gonna be the real sequence we will follow. Everything starts with structure and not code. Before you start anything, we're gonna set up a GitHub. This is your own control layer. This is where your ownership will live. So let me get into it. Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at is GitHub, right? And in GitHub is so important because here we're going to make sure that your repo is fine, that you have control with your roles, that you have the main permissions in the GitHub itself. If you want to have more developers, every single thing will come to here. And what you can see is I have my products. We have our trading platform, our expert funding platform, QuantaCore, and we have an affiliation platform. Now, I'm going to open one of them. I will open QuantaCore, and what you will see is first is your entire code, right? Your entire code is very important because you're going to see here where your developer pushed the code, or you can even log this that only production is pullable after you actually accepted it. Now, what you can see here is different repos, right? You can give different repos, you can give different developers permission to actually work in there. For example, if you have a staging repo like we have here, then you can make sure that you can open this on a staging website and first look at the code, look how everything is, see if there are no many mistakes before you actually pull it to the main branch, what is going to be in production, or if you have a production branch. Now, if I go, for example, to an organization like Expert Funding, you're going to see different repos. And this is important because, for example, if you have a backend, a front end, if you have different Python code in there, it is all just very structured and away from each other. You can also see some activity and so on. Now, what is also very handy with GitHub is that you can go to teams, and you can even make different teams that can edit certain points in your product. Now, if I open a new team, I can give the new team, I can give a small description, and then eventually I can add people there that I want to add, right? Now here, when you go to people, you can give them the role, like you can see. So anyway, this is with my main developer, and then you can manage the role, change the role, and so on. Now, why is this important? So they cannot steal the code. In some way, they will always be able to steal the code to developers, but they can't destroy the code. You will always have access to it. They cannot just destroy the code, and that's important. You have some insights as well, where you can see actually how much has been worked on the code. You can see the progress. Like if I go, for example, to backend now, I'm going to take backend. Yes, and I will go to insights. You can see, for example, the commits that are being done in the last weeks, for example, the traffic, code frequency, but mostly the commits is the most important part, right? Now, when we open the code, it's also interesting that you can download just the code from here to have it locally, and I would strongly recommend for you to have that code locally, because if you only have it in the GitHub, the issue can be that for whatever reason happens, the GitHub is gone, or you never know, right? So having that code locally at least saved once every week is definitely recommended. It depends how many changes you are making, of course, but I will strongly recommend this, okay? Then when you do pull request, this is interesting. The pull request tab is basically where you will actually add the pull request if you want to have, for example, a piece of code from one developer and put it to production or put it to another branch in your code. Code is very simple structured. It is basically just what you can see here. It's just going to be different branches in your code. For example, you have the main, you have production, you have, if you want to make a separate page, for example, you want to have that in a different branch. It's very, very simple structured. And then you can see here your code is going to be in files. That's basically it. What is for GitHub. Make sure to make use of it. It's going to change your life dramatically. If you are once that in place, you come to the next part, and this is going to be your product research. And here is where people will make big mistakes. They're going to brainstorm. They're going to think what their idea is good. But what we're going to do is we're also going to leverage AI into this. We're going to do product research with AI, with auditing websites, with auditing problems. So different tools that I like to use, or my main tools that I use for AI research is, of course, ChatGPT, just from OpenAI. Very simple. We're going to make a file in ChatGPT where you can actually do in the top, you're going to make a file, you're going to call it research. We will go over to my ChatGPT. And then another tool that I really like lately is Perplexity. And this is more going to able to go to websites and actually screen the websites and go over it. It's very fantastic, and it's something that I'm using more and more lately. But let's go to those tools. So the first tool I'm going to show you is Perplexity. And for example, what you do in this case is you can actually go to a website. Let's say, find me the best pharmacy industries in Australia. Okay. And go to the website. And Perplexity will literally search for you, but it will also go way step further. It would actually go to those websites. And the next thing you can do is open the assistant. Okay, it's now not a perfect website, but let's say you open the assistant and you can make audit this website, go to docs and analyze their pain points. And boom, it's gonna work for you. And I think that is one of the most advanced tools we can currently use on the web browsers to actually get those strong audits. Now, the next thing it will do, it's also an agent, so it will actually go to your docs and make, based on what you gave in there, a full-on summary of the website. So here we get it. We get from the agent the main pain points that this is given. Now, you can even go a step further and you can actually ask them, go now to my docs and add these pain points, and then actually boom, from there on, when it's done, it's gonna do that for you. Now, this is one of the most basic audits you can do. You can, of course, go way more in detail, but I like this because from here on, you have to, of course, see the audit and then eventually make your summary of what you will provide to those websites. And on that, you can build your first MVP. So like you can see here now, it's just basically going on docs and it is making this file that I asked, and now it's gonna audit the entire website of this file. pharmacy in Australia. Now, one thing that I do want to mention is that it's really important if you want to make a micro SaaS tool or a B2B SaaS tool, is that it's better to just have one problem that you find and then fix a solution on that and then eventually start scaling vertically. So with vertically, I mean you're going to take one niche and you're going to scale every single problem of the niche out and eventually make tools on every single thing. But in the beginning, especially when you want to get your first clients, you want to get your first trust, it's way more important to actually understand that SaaS has to solve only that problem. It has to be super clear. Same thing when you're making your website with your clear CTA, it has to be super clear what exactly it's gonna solve. And here we are, it's not fully done yet, but you can already see where we're getting. Now, another thing that I really like to do and how I do all, for example, my YouTube research to find videos or anything is just go to a new project in ChatGPT. Let's call it for now pharmacy. And you create a project, and why are we going to do that is because here in ChatGPT we can keep asking it question about a certain subject and it's going to keep understanding and remembering the previous messages you gave in there. So if you want to do a deep dive, for example, you want to go in the rabbit hole of pharmacies and understand all their problems, understand all their pain points, you best do it in ChatGPT in one file. For both of these tools you can also work free and you can use the free credits, but do keep in mind you're running out pretty fast, but in general it will cost you around 40 euros a month if you have both of the tools. And then we come to the next stage. What is your architect of your product? And now we have to understand, in tech we have different specs of your product, and this will be your front end, what everybody sees, right? So this will be from your buttons, from your dashboard, the basic things that somebody can see. Then you have the backend, it's where all the logic will take place, and this will be, for example, if there are calculations, if there is an audit calculation, it will be in the backend. If there are different type of logic reasoning, it also will be in the backend. Then we have the database, and here is where everything will be saved, from your client's data, from different things you want to be saved, like certificates, or even if you want to save the audit after the logic is done, this will also come in your backend. And then as last one, we have your APIs, your integrations. Where are you going to connect your software with, right? If you want to connect, for example, your software with news articles that get published, they automatically come into your software. If you want to connect different softwares with each other, let's say you want to connect HubSpot, another CRM, with your software, and so they integrate, you use also APIs. And these integrations you can also start making with automations, like AI-based automations, like you already see before, for example, make.com and where there are no code tools to actually let them work together, right? But I wouldn't over-engineer it right now. I wouldn't overcomplicate it. Just start with your front-end, back-end, your database, and let's start making our first product. From there on, we can connect it, we can see what we will actually make. Okay, so let's make our first product. What we'll do is we're gonna make an AI-based agent, right? An AI-based agent is something that most people will need. What will happen is that somebody will call on their phone and eventually, like, it will pick up, it will be an AI, and they will get the leads in their small CRM that you will make for them. So what do we need to make this type of product? We will make, first of all, we need API connection with, for example, phone numbers. Then we'll need an API connection with either Google Calendar or some type of calendar, right? To get their calls booked in. Then what we will need to make is a front end where you can see booked calls and your client's data. So this is what we call a CRM in coding. And then from backend logic, it will be more just converting those things into the clients, into the CRM, get a database up. So this is going to be more your database, where all your data goes of the clients. Okay, that is a little bit everything that you need. It's a very, very simple one micro SaaS that we will make. It's very simple and straightforward. What we also need, of course, is going to be a website, one pager, describe the product, and boom, that's it. Now, let me first start with the first thing is going to our front page, and we're gonna actually make a file. Let's call it AI agent for whatever you wanna do it for, right? Then we're gonna open Cursor, so you can download Cursor. It's a very handy tool. It's basically a tool where you will be able to prompt and make up every single file. What a lot of people like to do, we're not gonna do it in this video, but it's actually divide different type of languages. For example, they wanna use Flutter. If they also wanna make an app, they wanna use Django. There are so many different ways of code structure and languages. And there we go. We got the entire prompt ready for Cursor. So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna do Cursor. We're gonna open our folder. This is where your AI agent will live in. And we're gonna paste this. Boom. Here we go. And let Cursor do the first work. We're gonna immediately open it as fast as possible on a local host, so you will be able to see your own application. For now, also keep in mind, we're not putting anything to production yet, so people will not be able to open the link. You will only be able to open it on your local machine. Now, once we are a little bit further in the process, we can actually go to Railway and we can deploy the code and we can make our own backend there as well. So we're going to open that in PostgreSQL, and this basically you have your own tables where you can actually see the data very clean stored. What you also can use is Supabase, what is a little bit more advanced and where we can actually add different edge functions in. Super handy, super nice, but maybe in a further step. For now, we will just focus on launching our first MVP. We can scale this MVP out to our customers, show it to them, and see what they think of the product. If they like the product, then you can actually start building it out further for more production. But let me first go through this. Voila, and we got actually our first product ready. What we're gonna do now is, of course, to ask to open this in the local host so we know what we are editing. So we're gonna say, can you run the code for my browser in localhost? And then boom, it's gonna start doing the moves that needs to be done to actually open the code. What we also can see right now is if we go to the product itself that we are making, let me just open it. You're gonna see, I'm gonna put all these files in that is needed for your program to run. A big thing that I would recommend is, of course, to already add it to GitHub and make sure that you will save different type of Gits from the product. It's just different versions of your code. Like, let's say this is our first version of the code, then we can add another Git on top of that, and that's going to be the second version. But you can always go back if you destroy or break your code, right? Also, I like to have some commits with it, just to understand what you actually did. Same thing for if you have developers, make sure to know exactly what happened back then. But okay. Let now first open. So here it gets actually this open even in Cursor, and that's pretty cool because now if you open it, you will see the browser getting opened here, and boom, here you go. Well, you have your first version of your product. Now, if we copy this, we can go to Chrome actually, and we can completely open it here as well, and you can exactly see what you have. For now, it's a very, very simple version. It's just to book a call, because also I don't think we set it that clear to Cursor right now. It is more made to book a call without actually the phone calling. But of course, that is where we will get in and touch it differently, right? So for now, this is going to be a very simple book a call page. What we want to actually build this as a full CRM. So we're going to continue building on this. Okay. So I'm going to give it the things that I want. I actually want a dashboard CRM. I want different pages with a sidebar, you can always say. I want to be able to see all my leads. I want to be able to see my booked calls. I want to be able to see my calendar. And that's about it. I need a login. Okay, very important. I need a sign up. Oh, and very important, I need a role section where I can invite multiple people to work with me. Boom, and here it goes. The sign up and the login page is extremely important, an extremely important pillar in your SaaS, as this will actually say to the SaaS or to the backend, okay, this person is authorized to actually log into the product. And once that authorization or that token is given through, they can see. Now, the second thing is the roles. And roles is important because when you have different roles in your project, you can say, okay, this is an owner, this is somebody who can just adjust a small piece of the software. Let's say you're working, or they want to work with you, you want to work with different organizations, then again, you can do that. Okay, and here we are, we actually got the admin login. Very important to understand that the admin are also, you're going to be your clients. For example, if you go to a local company, they are be able to log in. Now what we can do is, for now in a test version, we can hard code actually our login details in there. We will have to remove them eventually and actually make up an account where we can log in with. So for now what we're gonna do is we're gonna just, can you hard code gmail.com and password Steph. Okay, let's do the next moves. By the way, I'm using the whole time here, like you can see, I'm using Composer. You can also use different AIs for your code, but I really like Composer. It's the one from Cursor itself, and until now it is one of my favorites to use. Okay, and here we are officially in our dashboard. What we can see now is we have our total leads, new leads upcoming today. We have our leads here that we can see all. We have booked calls. We have a calendar where we actually will be able to integrate this with Google Authenticator, and we have a team where we can have different team members that we can invite, settings where we can just, it's using Twilio right now. It's a software tool that you can use to actually set this up. But again, you can even set up your working things. We didn't even ask this, but it is this because it's just such an important thing. Right now, this is our beginner part of our dashboard. What I always like to do is, of course, to go a little bit of the narrative of Cursor, because for now, this is going to be something that's going to make for everyone. And you want to be in AI to be a little bit different than anybody else, because that will just make your product more unique, better, and it wouldn't look that cheap in a way. So what I like to do is actually go to Dribbble. Dribbble is like a design website where you can see all types of design. And what you can do here is you can just give in a CRM as an ID. So let Dribbble load the CRM. We're gonna see something that we really like. Let's say we really like this one, all right? What I would do is I would just download this image, okay? We download it and we're gonna give it in Cursor as our first styling in. Okay, now that we build our small MVP product, what we want to do in the next step, and this is where business fundamentals come in, is that we actually want feedback. Now, I know the product is totally not ready or where it should be, because we still need to connect the APIs and we still need to make sure it's functional. But what we can do is we can set up a one-pager. And a one-pager is very simple. It's just a page where you're going to describe the product, show some function of the product, and make sure that some people already are seeing. If people are going to sign up, go talk to people. And this is a very, very simple step. Now, the second thing that you can do is build the MVP where it's actually functional if you don't have that much inbound demand. And then you can see if people like the product before you continue building. This is a very small but very important step. Now, for the one pager, what is important is that we actually have a lead capturing. And a lead capturing is going to be built with a small CRM. We're going to connect everything with each other. But the first tool we can use is Lovable. For the CRM, we can use HubSpot, Go High Level. There are different types of CRM tools that we can connect. We can make the automation either using N8N, make.com, or we can even do it in our code itself and just connect the API in the code. The API will talk from platform to platform. Okay, so what you can see here is actually a one-pager that I made for a small product to see if it had some demand in my niche industry, right? And what we can see is here, for example, sell AI agents to local businesses. This was basically to be as a white label and a full-on distributor instead of just focusing on one client. So that's why we actually had inbound demand. Now, what you can see here is a simple email that is connected with Klaviyo or any other CRM tool you can use where you can send out emails and so on. I would recommend using one marketing email tool and then one CRM just to separate them both. But then again, you come down, it has a very simple understanding of how you should use it. You see, okay, the steps, what it is, and then when you go down, you will see it a little bit simpler for people that want to read. I wanted to have them both because a lot of people, they're too lazy to read anyway. And then we see now is the flow, like really trying to understand what it is and where you can sell it to. So I want to make it as clear as possible. I want to also have a nice design, and what you can see here as well is that the website is very designed for phone versions because most of your traffic will come from the phone. So a very interesting type of website. All of this I create with very simple is actually Lovable. You can see different projects from me, but it's the same principle. We're just gonna prompt. But you have to keep in mind, if you prompt that you are saying CRO, you want to have the maximal conversion rate optimization. This can be either in capturing leads or in actual capturing sales if you are making a full-on web shop. I will show you how I would start a website. And if you do want to see more about building websites, I actually made a previous video where you can see the steps of me building a website. So we come to the part Lovable. And what are we going to do with Lovable? We're going to make sure that we make a website where people can give in their email so people can actually subscribe to your list. Now, the first thing we're going to do is, let's say, for example, we were making our AI agent. We're going to say, can you make us a website for an AI agent tool that picks up the phone? Very simple. It's the most simple thing. But the product is not ready yet, and this is how you can verify your demand. It's not ready yet. Make me an email subscribe button where people can sign up. Also describe the product, why you should choose our product. Add some trust in there, some trust factors. Now the thing is, you will probably not have anything yet, but you can always make something up a little bit in the beginning to have some trust there. I know it's maybe a little bit difficult, but trust is a very big and high conversion rate. Give it the best CRO performance. And then as last, I would just make it super tech savvy, mostly for phone traffic. Okay, don't make it typical AI. Okay, here we go. So what we're gonna do now is basically we're gonna let Lovable make the project. What is also important is that we're gonna make a cloud to the project where eventually you will see everybody that subscribes on your new list, or we can even connect it with Klaviyo or HubSpot. HubSpot is a CRM tool that we can use where we get all our clients and we can invite them, or we can use Klaviyo where we can immediately make an email flow to there. In the meantime, what we actually can do, because it's still loading and it takes some time, we can always go to Klaviyo. I like this platform a lot because the email flows are just so easy, the lists are so easy, you don't even need a separate CRM. And if you go, I can open my account actually to show you a little bit around. This is my Klaviyo, where you can see this is of a product, an e-commerce product we're running, and we have all these different flows. And when we open them, you can see here very clear how this entire flow and emails just go after each other. I super like this. Basically, you can have a trigger when somebody is in the pop-up. Once you then connecting your code in Lovable, it actually gets triggered and the whole email flow goes through. So boom, here we have our first version of the website. Definitely not where I want to be, but when it comes to design, we can just keep prompting and keep making it better. Although what we do get right now is that we have our email where we have a clear CTA and then eventually saying exactly our clear value proposition. This is super important for people to get early access. What we also can see, a why us section is so important in a website because it actually is gonna say why people should choose you over another company, right? So there's our why us section, and then we have another clear CTA. Now the thing that it didn't add here is trust factors yet. What is okay, we don't have any videos yet, although you can always make them with AI, but I wouldn't recommend it. But also we can see here clearly what it actually does. So it's not only why us, we also have how it works. We also have our clear value proposition, and we have our clear CTA. Then we have a title, and then eventually we have like some nice header here, some other aspects of the website. Now this is a very good start, and it even gave it a name, what is absolutely crazy. What we now need to do is connect it to the Lovable cloud, because eventually we need to be able to collect those emails somewhere. And if we collect them in the database of Lovable, that's perfectly possible. But again, what I told you earlier, maybe it is handy in your case to ship the emails to a CRM or to Klaviyo in a list. So here we allow it basically, and it will just start doing this. Here you go, and your database is actually ready. Now we can actually add the signups in here. Also, a very fun fact is that we can see the analytics of the websites just by a click on here in the Lovable dashboard. Now, I'm not gonna go further in detail, it's just mostly important right now to understand that you have to connect your product with your website, with your Klaviyo, and with your CRM. Now comes the part that most people actually ignore. Not because it's hard, but because they don't like it as much as building the product. And that is selling. And let me be very clear up front. You don't want to build an entire product, entire funnel, an entire system for a product that will not sell in demand. The first thing you want to do is sell as much manually as possible without setting up too many different things. And this means we don't start with ads, we don't start with insane email funnels yet. We start mostly by just direct contact, speaking to people, DMing people, have some outbound demand with cold emails, cold calls. Because selling is not about revenue, it's about validation of your product. But an important factor of that is you're not gonna go to your client and say like, oh, we're selling just this cool ass SaaS. No, what you're gonna say is we're gonna sell you the problem and we're gonna sell you the solution for your problem that you're already having. For example, I notice you're doing X manually and we have the problem and we have the solution for that problem. And that's it. And if they respond, that means that there is clear market demand. If they don't, mostly the market is just rejecting you and maybe it's better to see another way. I'm not saying you should give up immediately, but I do say that you should aim for cash flow as fast as possible. In the beginning, you're mostly not even selling a product, just selling a solution. You're just selling your expertise. And another important factor in this is inbound demand. Inbound demand is so important in selling. Content is not really an option anymore. Like nowadays, personal branding is such an important factor to sell your product. And most older corporations, they don't even understand this. So that is your edge in the market. What you're building, you're facing maybe the problem with the product you are building, you can solve that solution. And this can be very simple with short form on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, long form on YouTube, for example, LinkedIn content, X content. You have so many different attribution channels you can just use to do this. Now we are on the end of this video. And if you like, make sure to just put a like, comment, subscribe, share it with people. It would really help me to grow my channel. Also, in the description, you will find a free school community where I'm gonna drop courses in, where I'm dropping the information, what I'm working with and my results, and I will give feedback on people that are currently working on different projects. Also, you can see in the description my website. You can always book a call with us. Either you're a company, either you're just wanting to start out with AI, either you're already with AI but you want to leverage it more to developers and remote working and so on. Then you can just book a call with me. It is completely only me in that call. It's like a free consulting that you can just get. Anyway, I will see you in the next video. I would highly appreciate it if you just click the subscribe button. See you in the next one.